Hey, we're live.
Hey everybody. Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
We are here with the fantastic Abbie, who is joining us to talk all about failure as a creative, as well as some very other interesting topics. And it is ironic that on the chat about failure, we've run into endless technical issues.
But we fought through that failure.
And we came up
And
stronger.
here we are. There we go.
Abbie, thank you so
Yeah.
much for being here with us today. And thank you, everyone, for your
Thanks
patience
everyone.
while we're getting ready. But everyone, let's give it up for Abbie, actually.
Yeah.
Welcome to the weekly hangout.
Because it's midnight.
Okay.
Yeah, you're based in Oz, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
Sydney.
Sydney. Well, thank you for jumping on so late with us. We appreciate it. You're going to be sleepy in the morning.
Episodes of The Handmaid's Tale to stay awake, so I'm like wired and a little bit upset.
Perfect.
Nice, guys. As always, let us know if you can see and hear us okay in the comments. We just want to make sure, especially today, that everything is working as it should be. Hi, everyone feels says.
Yeah.
Abbie, also there is
says Nick.
there's a slight delay on the comments, so don't worry if there's like 10 seconds between people responding to your points.
Okay.
But yeah, hey Phil, let us know, guys. Just want to make sure everything's going through. Teresa made it. Hey Teresa, what's up? Hopefully we're going to start seeing some confirmations from people. Half Matt and half perfect. Yeah, we can get some better.
Thanks, Alex. Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's all happening today. Perfect. So as I say, Abbie, thank you so much for being here. And I would love it if you could, loud and clear. Good. We have confirmation,
Excellent.
guys. We're all good today.
Thanks, Phil.
Abbie, I'd love it if you could jump in and just share a little bit about your story and what you do, who you are, for anyone that might not be aware of you.
And how I got into it. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I make brushes for Procreate and I sell them online. I am trained as a jeweler, but through my immigrations and everything, I discovered that I actually kind of don't like selling things to people in person, because I've done that. It's a little bit disheartening to stand there and somebody goes, "It's okay," and put it down. It just like it's a bit crushing. So I'd much prefer the online presence and being able to interact with people like that. You can just close an email if you don't like what they're saying. It's much easier. So the way that I got into Procreate was I was making jewelry and I had a website and everything. And the one Christmas I said to my husband, please, can I have an iPad? Because I want to play Candy Crush, but like really big. And so he bought me an iPad, and then I played around it and I thought, oh, this Candy Crush is great, but hey, there's other stuff. And I discovered Procreate. And I mean, I've always loved drawing and being good at it. So I got into it and it took off. And I started with one of those styluses that doesn't even have pressure sensitivity. And then obviously I needed to upgrade. And that's how I became a Procreate brush maker.
I love
Awesome.
it. And I mean, was it scary, that initial jump in? Because I think there's a certain blocker, isn't there, where people think, I don't really know where to start. How do I make brushes?
Actually, I've never been a person who battles to start things. I just, if I am interested in doing something, I just go right ahead and I'll just go to the garage and be like, what do I have that can make this? Or my husband goes mental because I'm always making a massive mess. But the same was for Procreate. I thought, well, how do I get this brush to do that cool, fancy, thin, thick thing that all those calligraphers were doing without a pressure stylus?
Yeah.
So I figured out you could do it by adjusting the little sliders. And then I became obsessed with adjusting sliders. And then it kind of burgeoned from there. And then I was like, oh, I need to be able to make seamless textures so that it all goes smoothly, because when it makes a line and you're making a pattern, it just pissed me off. So I had to learn all of that, and I just kept going.
Excellent. So it's out of frustration, really. You thought, yeah, I can do this better. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah.
And everyone, we have linked up Abbie's store in our marketplace below. I have to say, on a personal level, like, in fact, both of us, we love your brushes, Abbie.
Yeah,
we think
they look amazing. And then the sheer, especially the watercolor, if you look at the realism of some of your work and the effects on that, that's just fantastic in Procreate. It really is. I know a few sort of artists and designers who are getting into Procreate and they're really struggling to get those realistic effects, especially in watercolor. So it's really nice to see.
That was from a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
I loved watercolor even as on paper and, you know, as a student and before. So I really wanted to replicate that texture and the way that it flowed and moved. And initially Procreate didn't have, because I started Procreate ages ago, before they had that wet media update. And it was a little bit, I don't know, stagnant, stilted. It didn't kind of have any kind of drag to it.
It really loses the life, doesn't it?
It was not great. And then when they introduced that smudge, wet media effect that they call it, it totally game changer. It really looks much better.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I know today we're talking about failure as one of the main topics. How has that transpired in your creative career? Has it helped you? Has it hindered you?
Oh, no, it's helped. I think for me, failure is kind of, people attach a lot of things to the word failure. Like if they've spent a lot of time and they don't see any fruit, then they just bulk it into failure. Or if they've tried a couple of things and they haven't gotten it right, then they just lob it into failure. Or if they've shown something to somebody and they've gone, and the other person hasn't responded positively, they haven't gone, or maybe that's the wrong person to show it to, they've just gone failure.
Yeah.
I think that like getting a little bit tougher and having a little bit more resilience in your work is the way to push through failure and to actually let it become discovery instead of like a full stop at the end of what it tried. Because I mean, I have made tons of garbage brushes. Like I mean, for every one good brush, you make maybe 1,000 garbage brushes.
I mean, Andrea just said in the comments, who said, we now know 99 ways not to do it. So it sounds like that's kind of your creative process with brushes. Yeah, exactly. But the thing with failure is that if you try something and you don't get it right, you're actually not starting from the same place you started before. You're starting from this new place where you have a bit of perspective of what you did. And then you also have knowledge, that you gained. So you can move in a different direction, maybe do something similar but different. And I think currently we live in this really challenging time where everybody has seen everything. Nothing's new. I mean, you can show something to somebody and they'll immediately go, oh, I've seen that before. It doesn't matter what it is. And it's really heartbreaking as a creative because creative people are desperate to be the first to have done something. I mean, they pretend they're not, but they are. Yeah, it's very, very true. I don't know if you've listened much to our podcast, The Honest Designers Show, but we tend to go very deep into these issues. Yeah. So if you don't mind, I would love to try and get you to like really open up. What are some of the really bigger, like harder failures? So I understand, with the brush making process, and that's fantastic insight. But have you got any standouts where it's like it's maybe really rocked you as a failure in your creative career?
Yeah. When I was still making jewelry, I made a whole lot of stuff for a craft, like a big crafts market thing that was happening in Sydney. And it was like, I was 100% convinced I was going to be accepted to exhibit and sell my things there. And I made thousands of pieces. And I sent my beautiful pictures and my soul was in it. And they sent me such a cursory email back to say, I'm sorry, you didn't make it. And it was like the whole world just imploded around me, and I thought, F this shit o'clock.
I think all designers, all designers must be able to empathise with that feeling. I know I've been through it a lot.
And I think it was in that moment, I'd already started with Procreate, because I'd made a lot of like little design elements and stuff for my jewelry webpage. And that moment was like, this is the wrong direction that you're going in. Because I suddenly realized, okay, no, I must change tack completely. But I didn't entirely abandon everything that I'd done leading up to that, because for the website, I'd like really invested time in making a beautiful background and making all these elements that made it look kind of not like everyone else's website. So actually the website was the star, and the jewelry was just there as kind of the prop. So sure. I suddenly went, oh, hang on, I've got something good here. And this is actually not the good stuff. And that was really impactful. And that was a very pivotal point.
Sure. A real learning process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's almost human nature that our biggest areas of growth and when we really mix things up come from being uncomfortable and perhaps even failing, because otherwise, if we're in a comfort zone, we just tick along. And so there's things even with design cuts right now, we're massively mixing them up, but that's just because we forced ourselves to get uncomfortable by looking closer and figuring out what we're happy with and not happy with. And that kind of breeds innovation. And even design cuts itself, that came from me personally being screwed over horrendously with a separate venture. And that was the most uncomfortable thing on earth, but you pick yourself up and then it breeds innovation. Like you have to try something else. So is that something you found where it's like the bigger the failure, almost the bigger, the bigger the output on the other side?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And it's weird because I have all my jewelry stuff still set up downstairs, and I go and I fart around and make things, but the pressure is actually off there. And it makes it enjoyable again, which is ironic.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like this is most creatives, but I know if I get feedback, especially, positive and negative, I feel like the feedback on my work is almost feedback on me. And I find it very hard to separate the two. So I feel like if my work's being attacked, I take it as a personal attack, and there's no separation.
Yeah. So much of yourself goes into it, doesn't it? When you're designing it, you pour your heart and soul into it.
I know this guy gets that because he's one of the best designers I know. But if I ever give negative feedback, I see his face.
I have to sit there and go, process. Don't say that. If I sit there like for 10 seconds and just process and don't say anything, generally something more constructive.
It's like I personally attacked his daughter or something.
That's it.
Insulted her. It's like, what?
You want to take her out where?
And that is when people say, you know what you should do? Like helpful aunties say that. Just say, you know what you should do is go to design school and go.
I'd be intrigued. So everyone who's live with us right now, give a little emoji or type me, just type me if you feel like that.
Me too. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, I was about to say me too. And then hold on, that is something different.
Nick's
but yeah, if you struggle to separate.
Me, Michelle, me.
Tom, Anna, Helen, me, Teresa,
me,
I know Teresa.
Peg, me, Phil, big me,
Okay, so let's stick with that for a second. Like, what's the best way then to separate the two? Because I don't think it's always healthy to have your personal identity tied to your work to that degree.
No, it's not. Especially if you've made something and you're thinking, oh, this is good, and you present it and you don't get the feedback you want. There's that moment where you've got to go, hang on, am I asking the wrong person? Am I asking the wrong questions? Am I going in the wrong direction? Or am I doing the right thing and maybe I should keep going because they don't understand?
Sure. Yeah, trying to pick those apart.
Yeah.
You know what? 99% of the time, I go through the same pattern of being personally offended. Then I kind of lick my wounds, and then I actually realize they're probably right, and I go and make it better as a result.
Yeah.
Unless it's a complete troll who is like insulting you for the sake of it, there is normally some degree of truth.
Absolutely.
And even if you don't 100% agree, you can normally take something from it.
And the irony is, like, by asking someone else their opinion of your work, you're really taking a shortcut, right? You're getting a perspective and you're blind to it a little bit. You've been looking at your work for days or weeks or whatever, and someone else comes along and goes, oh, what about that, that, and that? Like, it's the simplest thing ever. And you're like, God. And really, a lot of it's like, that, you know, why couldn't I see that? So it's really constructive. So yeah, for me, it's just like taking a bit of a breather, going away, thinking about it, and then admitting, well, maybe they're right.
Although, actually, on that note, I've done a lot of thinking about it. What I was saying earlier about the fact that the whole world has seen everything now.
True.
Or at least we think they have. So as soon as you introduce something that they might not have seen, like a mashup of something they have seen with something else they've seen in a new way, people are really resistant to new. They'll go, it'll take them maybe 50 or 60 times of seeing that thing before they'll go, oh, I like that.
Yeah. I guess dependent on the media, it can be very different because of what we're, whatever. So there's a definite balance.
Kind of process.
Yeah. And I guess you have to have the courage of your convictions if you are doing something new at the same time, to at least try it and put it out there and see what happens. And if it doesn't work, you know, it doesn't work. That's fine. You can just try something different.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I like this, by the way, because obviously this series is called the Weekly Hangouts. And I know before you had a kind of presentation that you were looking to share. We've obviously had technical issues. We had to change our laptops. This feels more like we're doing a podcast or something. This feels like a hangout. I've got a cup of tea.
I didn't bring a cup of tea.
And I feel like the lovely people who are tuning in, like a group discussion where we all just kind of geek out over this stuff.
Yeah.
It's quite a nice change.
Personal.
Yeah. So as you alluded to, we were talking about this before we went live when we were fighting technical gremlins, but what are your thoughts around it being so saturated and that echo chamber where everyone starts churning out the same work because of consuming the same educational material?
Yeah. I feel like there's two ways you can go. That a lot of people go the way of practice. So they watch a YouTube tutorial or they watch a Skillshare or whatever, and they learn the skill, and then they practice kind of slavishly after what they've learned, mimicking again and again, and they incrementally change it. But what they produce will be very similar to what they've seen. And there isn't a lot of growth in that because there's a fixed idea of what you've got to produce, and you head towards that. It's like going and putting a destination in your sat nav, and you go there and it says destination on your right. But there's another way to do it. You can watch that Skillshare class and you can watch the YouTube thing, and you can go away from it, and then you can go into a process. Instead of practice, you can start a process of discovery. Change it up, mix it with something else you learned, add something else, try a new thing, discard it altogether, try something else. And then you don't actually know what the destination is going to be, but you're adding to your repertoire more and more and more. And you're actually building yourself instead of just kind of repeating the same steps again and again.
Yeah, so more of a journey of discovery.
Yeah, that's the way I see how tutorials should be consumed. And that's actually the way that I make tutorials for people. I do it like a 5-minute in and out, read the stuff, get it done. I don't want to see some fat hands hovering over an iPad for 45 minutes while they talk. I've got it on mute and I'm waiting for her to do something, because that's what I want from a tutorial.
You want to actually see it, yeah.
No, again, we put out a lot of tutorials at Design Cuts, and we see what people create on the back of them. And I always love seeing people's work, but sometimes they follow it so closely, the outcome is literally the same as what's on the page. And they could have saved that image from our page and shown it back. And I'm like, that looks like exactly what we made.
That's not the idea. Yeah. Exactly.
And we see some people that get it and adapt it and come up with something highly original. And both are great and both have merit because you learn through the process of doing. But I do love seeing what people come up with and the creative boundaries they push.
Yeah. So I think what I'm getting at is that it's in an environment where so many people know how to do the same thing. It's really important to be doing your thing rather than doing the same thing as everyone else.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I've always had that. And you remember the board game Mousetrap? I'm sure you do, Matt.
I remember Mousetrap. Yeah. You build the board
where the little thing comes down.
That's the mouse.
So I've always hated following any kind of framework that's just there to be completed, like thousands of people have done before you. So even at a young age with that game, I would try and rearrange the pieces into like a custom obstacle course.
Did you ever manage to catch the mouse?
And it wouldn't really work because obviously they were designed to piece together, but I'd always try and force it. And that's been anything. Like if it's learning guitar, like before I can even play properly, I'd try writing songs because I didn't want to learn something.
The word you often use is disruptive, which is a really interesting word, I think. And it's kind of doing something a little bit different and in a marketplace, doing something which makes people actually pay attention, actually notice you and stand out from the crowd.
Yeah.
In a positive way, of course.
If there's like something already there and it's been solved before you and you just go through the motions of solving it and it's a foregone conclusion, that's kind of boring to me. But creativity is about sparking something new and different, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I kind of want to scan in your curtains and sell them as a pattern in our marketplace, by the way.
I don't know how much of that you can see.
We're getting it's a nice backdrop. We're moving offices.
We are.
So these hangouts are going to look very different in 3 weeks. It should be where we're going to have a full like studio setup.
We will. It's going to
be really swanky.
And what does success accident mean?
What's that? Sorry.
I said, what does success accident mean? It's above your head on a piece of wood.
I wondered. We can
put it down.
Yeah, I guess that probably that wouldn't make a lot of sense. So it says success is no accident.
There we go.
You guys were a success accident.
Yeah, it's a side business of ours. We just go around and sort of try and hurt ourselves in public places and claim it's working well, bring in the extra money. Success accident. Rachel made it. She's one of our community members, so she literally hand painted this onto this amazing bit of wood. It's got a lovely note on the back.
Yeah, it's lovely,
and it's just about the journey of growing design cuts, and she sent it to us, which is really sweet.
Really cool.
Yeah.
So it's a lovely thing, isn't it?
So,
I think success accident. Yeah, I need to correct that. So we got some questions coming in, I think. Abbie, where do you see yourself in the next few years and what will the next step be for you? Alex asks. And do get your questions in the ask a question bit below the video if you want to pick Abbie or our brains.
I think I'm going to carry on with this gig for a while. It's actually really enjoyable because it's always changing. I'm not actually sure. I don't make a lot of plans.
Just go with the flow.
Just go with it. Fair enough. Just enjoy it, I guess. Enjoy the journey.
Yeah, it's a good question, though. Difficult question. I feel like it's something I would expect from my father-in-law when I first. Where do you see yourself in 5 years, and what are your intentions for my daughter? That kind of thing.
I have 2 teenage boys, so I think I'm heading for daft times.
So right now you're just battening down the hatches and
good luck.
I love it. So I mean, where do you see the Procreate brush market going? Because it's evolving very quickly. Like every year it's pretty different, I would say.
When I first started Procreate, I only sold I didn't actually sell any brushes. I just gave them away on the Procreate forums. And it was just me and maybe 5 other people. Half a PX. She also used to give away brushes. Now she's like majorly famous. Who else? I don't know. Anyway, since then, I think there's zillions of people now. The whole of Gumtree, not Gumtree, what's it called?
Gumroad.
Gumnuts, I don't know, something. And Creative Market, and every Tom, Dick, and Who's Your Mum can sell Procreate brushes. And everyone thinks that they're making amazing Procreate brushes and everyone must buy them, which is exactly true. But anyway, go for it.
But quality always cuts through, right?
It does. It does. Yeah.
Michelle just said, I love your brushes and your short and to the point tutorials, Abbie.
Yeah. I mean, and you can instantly see the quality of your brushes when you just look at your work. You know, I think that comes across just straight away, which is...
I was looking at it earlier, and I had seen your work before, of course, but I was checking out your Instagram with Matt, and I had to double take because I thought it was
I thought it was real
analog paintings.
I did. I had to double take on some of them as well. It's beautiful. I think it's you've got the confidence to leave the canvas as well, which is really, really nice in your work. So you'll leave chunks of canvas and negative space, and you know, it's just really nice balance. And you know, I think you treat it more like you are actually painting, and that really comes across.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So in terms of your next projects within Procreate, have you got anything you can reveal, like a little exclusive?
I am making a
closer.
video about how to do seamless repeats much more easily in Procreate. I've invented this new little way. So let's hope some dumb cow doesn't copy it and make a Skillshare class like we did. So that maybe is coming, but I don't know if I can sell that. I don't know.
It sounds interesting, though. I mean,
interesting.
That's similar to Ian Barnard, especially in the earlier days of his Photoshop actions and so on. He would really push the boundaries of what the software could do, and therefore he always stayed ahead of the pack. Because he would set the trend. Everyone would be like, "Wow, how do you do that?" And they'd spend loads of time trying to reverse engineer it and figure it out.
Yeah, I've had lots of people do that. Lots of people have made Skillshare classes on tutorials that I've made on YouTube, and some of them really peed me off because they were kind of linked to a brush pack that they went with. So I thought, is that ethical, this chick to just be doing that? I don't know. I don't really know what the boundaries and the gray area of this whole new skill world is. So I don't know if I can go.
Andrea has a great question, actually, and I know we have our own thoughts on this, but I would love yours, Abbie. What is your criteria for like what you believe a good brush is? And not even necessarily your own. I think she means when you see other people's brushes, like how do you kind of determine if it's quality or not?
I need to not see that weird jaggedy bit. If somebody's made the edge of the brush have like weird crap hanging off it that makes sort of a repeating fur, that's what I'm talking about.
That is the technical term, by the way. The weird crap hanging off it.
Yeah, exactly. It needs to also look like somebody could move their pencil in a way that a pencil would move and make that mark. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So it doesn't look like they've had to do something weird that would be different to the natural media to make the mark. With the watercolor brushes, that for me, when I'm making them, they have to feel like a paintbrush as you move them. Otherwise, it just feels like I don't like it. So just reject it completely. For the ones that have a grain or a texture, like a chalk or something like that, if you can see any repeat line that where the grain doesn't repeat perfectly, that just makes me mad. Which actually brings me to a point. Some of the actual, the pro library in Procreate, some of theirs doesn't repeat perfectly. And that's about it.
Okay,
that's cool.
So would you So other than obviously using your brushes, do you have sort of top tips for how people can make their work more naturalistic in Procreate?
Yes, actually, this is a really good one. If you want it to look nice and real, you have to put some kind of paper texture over.
Yeah.
Procreate is really just flat, and it will look like a screen print on a piece of acetate afterwards.
Yeah.
Just do it normal. So I've made lots of paper texture brushes, but you can make your own paper texture brushes because there are lots of paper textures in that Pro library, and those do repeat properly.
Oh, sorry, you go.
So to clarify, are you doing it just on the background and then painting over the paper texture with a lower opacity, or you put it all on top?
Make a paper texture brush by going and getting one of their pattern brushes and just swapping out the grain with a paper texture and then setting it to glaze, and then get gray and fill a whole layer with that texture and put it right on top and make it linear burn.
And is that what you had in the background of that wisteria and the etc.? Because the wisteria is really beautiful. Anyone checking out the Instagram, check out the wisteria. It's lovely.
For the watercolor, I make a little sandwich of layers. So there's recycled paper and 2 layers of watercolor paper.
Nice.
Both done with that texture brush story.
Yes.
The one is color burn and the one is linear burn. The color burn one is on top, and that informs all the color that you've painted underneath to just
nice.
sort of look like it's gone into the pockets of the paper.
Yeah.
You know, watercolor.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean,
really
and it really does. And that texture is just really making it, because wherever you leave that texture, that in itself is quite beautiful.
Do you want me to show you? I'll show you.
I'd love to.
Abbie, I don't want to put you on the spot, so no pressure. I mean that. Would you be willing to put what you just said into a very brief tutorial on our blog where we can give great exposure for your shop and like mention all your brushes and stuff? Yeah.
I think I'm going to have a tutorial about it. Don't worry, I'll make it.
Cool. Raluca? Yeah, amazing. We're gonna make that happen, because what you just said is too good not to.
And it really is. And I know
share that with the whole community.
At least one person who's really struggled with that realism, and that would have just been an amazing tip for them, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, and I'm going to have to move my little shield where I can't see myself.
It prints nicely as well, Michelle says.
So, you see here, I've got a little stack, and I made a highlight, and I've made 2 paper texture layers. So these are watercolor paper texture made with watercolor paper texture brush, which I'll show you here. This one. Oh, shit, disappeared.
This is live, everyone, live show.
There it is.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay. So, what you do is you fill the whole format with that paper texture in gray, and then you duplicate that layer. Then you make color burn on top and linear burn at the bottom, but the bottom one must be on like 10% opacity. Right. Otherwise, the color burn just makes it look all like freaked out.
And that covers your whole canvas, basically.
Yeah. Yes. And then the highlight one, what have I got that set to? Soft light. The highlight one, you fill the canvas with white. So you do color drop and drop white. And then you select this layer and delete it from that layer. Select, delete, select, delete, select, delete, like 40 times. And then you're left with tiny little white areas where this isn't.
I feel you probably spent quite a lot of time experimenting with this to get it just, feel it.
Have you thought about offering this as a freebie or a premium thing where you basically say, here is the realistic Procreate canvas, and you just have a layer being like, paint here.
When you buy the Everything watercolor pack, you get one of these canvases.
Awesome.
And anyway, so this one is the highlights, and that just makes the top bumps of the watercolor paper look higher.
Yeah, and this is why we look at your Instagram and go, wow, I actually thought that was real thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That and the quality of the brush.
You have to put that all on top of this. So
live demo, guys.
Incredible.
This is super awkward.
It's like being in an orchestra.
Yeah.
Orchestral Procreate. Yeah.
This is cool.
It looks crap and red, but anyway, there.
Do you mind holding it quite close just so we can try and see the texture?
I see. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can.
Yeah, cool.
Pretty.
That's insane.
And that would look so much more digital without that.
Yeah, it really does.
It's better in
Skills.
Yeah.
maybe
Really
blue.
interesting.
See.
That's sweet.
Beautiful.
This is
So
awesome.
yeah,
Thank you, Abby,
This
says
is
Jane.
awesome. Yeah.
Where's it?
Wow, says Andrea. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's so cool.
That looks crap.
I mean, it does look
Man, I want an iPad,
watercolor.
iPad Pro now, Teresa
Yeah.
says. Would you be willing, Abby? Can we super quickly like sketch someone's name, just to really put you on the spot?
Yeah. Whose name do you want?
Leave a comment in the chat, guys, if you want Abby just to live draw your name out, and we're going to pick one person. Just be like, pick me or something in the comments. Teresa says Teresa. Hell yeah, me, says Helen. Andrea, me. Who else?
I'm going to spell your name incorrectly because I'm a moron.
Do you want to
Okay.
pick Abby or?
It's done.
Oh wow, done. Oh nice.
Awesome.
Is it
that.
back to front, or is that just the way that I'm looking?
No,
at it?
it's right. It's right.
Perfect. Perfect.
Oh, that's really cool. Thanks. You're amazing.
Cool.
It says Teresa.
Oh, fantastic. That's really
Awesome.
cool.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, thank you so much for jumping on with us today, Abby. It's been really fun. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah. Are we done?
We might need to run in a second. We do have another call, but it's been so much fun chatting with you, and I feel like people could watch you all day. So yeah, we're really excited to get you on our learn section because I think people could learn a lot from some of these techniques in tutorial
absolutely.
form. Yeah, we need you back again. Teresa's saying. I would actually love. We've done it before.
My camera.
Oh no, it's all good. Like I say, technical issues happen. We've done it before where people come on. Ian Barnard did this where we actually link up the iPad, so we can literally on screen share the iPad and watch you paint and talk over it.
That would be amazing.
Would you be down for that in the future?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, but
So round two. We need a round two.
Let's make that happen. We can hook that up with the team. Leave a comment, guys, if you'd like to see that. But I think you're such a natural teacher, and you can see that on your YouTube channel and so on. So yeah, we'd love to get that in live format if you're down for that.
Cool. I'll do it.
Amazing. Can't wait. That would be so cool to see, Nick says. Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for jumping on with us today.
That's
sorry,
fantastic.
it's a little bit briefer than normal because of technical issues, but we will definitely have Abby on in the future. And click the shiny green button below the video.
And go and have a look.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Go check out all Abby's amazing brushes. They're super realistic, really, really tactile, and really fun to work with. So if you're into Procreate, we highly recommend you check them out.
Cool.
Abby, we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks ever so much, Abby.
That was great.
Cheers. Thank you.
All right. See you later.
Bye, Abby.
Bye.